Hello, everyone. I'm Meredith, and welcome to Conversations with Friends. And I mentioned a few weeks ago that I love when I get, I would say referrals, it's not exactly that, but when someone calls me or texts me or whatever, emails, and says, this person would really make a great guest on your program because they're really doing important work and work that affects the community and the world. And my guest is that. And the person that actually recommended you, and I'm going to first introduce them and then I'll tell you who recommended you, is Iqbal Akhtar. And his title is very, very impressive. He's Associate Professor of Religious Studies, Politics, and International Relations at the Green School of International Relations and Public Affairs. I hope I got that right.
Perfect. Yeah,
Terrific. So nice to meet you. And the person that recommended you, you know who it is, right?
of course.
Nathan
Yeah.
Katz, an
Professor Katz. Yeah.
old, people don't like to hear old friend, longtime friend,
Right.
right?
In the
Longtime
institution.
friend
Absolutely.
to me, to the Brahma Kumaris, familiar with his books and his
Right.
work at FIU. And so when he told me you have to contact him, I did. So I'm
Thank you so
really
much.
thrilled to have you here. And I wanted to just start out by you talking a little bit about the whole program that that you run at Florida International University, and it's part of the Green School of International Relations, right, and
Hmm.
Public Affairs.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. Thank you so much for having me here. So I'll introduce myself a little bit, I think.
Ah, good.
And then yeah, and then we can get into the program.
Yes.
So I am currently here at at FIU. I'm
Mhm.
also a director of a foundation, community foundation called the East West Foundation. We do a lot of
Mm.
work with regards to heritage preservation and also thinking through interfaith dialogue, and that's a big part of the work that I do. I completed my doctorate at the University of Edinburgh many years ago now,
Not
in
too many.
yeah, not
Yeah.
too many, in divinity and religious studies.
Oh,
Um, my doctoral work focused on the history of the Khoja community, which is an Indian Muslim merchant community that migrated from India about 200 years ago and settled in Zanzibar, Tanzania. And that's where I did my field work. And that's actually where my family's from Africa, from Zanzibar. And so I spent quite a bit of time there. I've also done work in Pakistan.
mm.
Again, trying to focus on interfaith dialogue and sort of peace building in a very challenging environment, for sure. Um, I previously worked at the U.S. Air Force Academy in the political science department there. I was born and raised in New Orleans, and that's where that's my hometown. That's where I call home. And, lived in different parts of the world. I've worked in the Bahamas. I've worked, in Africa and Asia and in many different places. Worked for the government, for the State Department, for a while. So it's great to be in the university. And I think the work that I've been doing recently, I'll talk a little bit about the current work, and then I'll talk about kind of some of the stuff that I've done previously. So I used to be the director of the Jain Studies program at FIU.
Yes. Yes. Right.
That's
Right.
right, yeah. So they, for, I mean, hopefully your um,
Familiar with.
listeners, yeah, will be aware of Jainism. But Jainism is also an ancient tradition, similar to kind of Buddhism. It reacted against Vedic religion about 2,500 years ago. Mahavir was kind of one of the Tirthankars, or sort of one of the enlightened beings, I guess you could say, who also preached similar ideas of sort of to the Buddhist and Hindu reformers as well. There are three sort of main pillars of Jainism. One is ahimsa, which is nonviolence, which is very, very important. It's the thinking, speaking, acting with sort of nonviolence, which I think is a very, very powerful sort of philosophy. Anekantavad, that there are a plurality of viewpoints and perspectives, and it's important to understand the multiplicity of perspectives to understand reality. And the third is aparigraha, is how to live in the world without attachment or without sort of desire for things. So it's a very beautiful, it's a very small religious community, but one that I've been connected to, and I served as director when the previous chair of Jain Studies left the university. Yeah.
I find this so interesting because many years ago I had done some programs as a producer for
Mm,
WLRN Public TV. Not didn't the Jains, but not the Jains, but they had a whole program on the Dalai Lama,
right.
different kinds of things that I would come there to FIU to the art
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
do programs that I didn't see anybody else was doing. So
Indeed.
somewhere at FIU,
Mm,
there's a big interest or an interest, right,
absolutely.
in things to do with the inner self and creating change in the self,
Absolutely.
which hopefully works out to be helping to change the world, you know?
That's the idea. Yeah. I think it's a very powerful. I mean, I think what resonated me particularly was the philosophy of ahimsa. So a lot of us are familiar with Gandhi, the political figure who helped to kind of uh, India achieve independence, and it was unfortunately killed.
Yeah.
But his philosophy of nonviolence was actually came from Jainism, actually, as a tradition. This idea that, and I think it's quite powerful that nonviolence is not weakness. Nonviolence is not an abdication of responsibility, but acting intentionally with nonviolence and with peace is actually a very powerful stance, and is actually in many ways even more difficult than violence, because it forces us to go in many ways um, beyond what our normal inclination might be to defend ourselves, and to make a principled position with regards to seeing some horrific things happening in the world. And so, taking the intention, speech, and action of nonviolence takes a lot of inner work, I think. To be able to perfect it. And that's something that the Jain nuns who come to FIU teach us. Um, Particularly through types of meditation called one of the types that they have a student group for. It's called Praksha meditation. That's another way to be able to center yourself in a very chaotic world that we live in, which is, constantly being bombarded by all types of, sort of noise. Yeah, so, electronic noise, digital noise, so much noise that we have in our lives, and how to kind of get past that in order to understand and get some glimpses into ultimate reality.
So we're talking about a way of life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
People, people often say, oh, I want peace in the world. We wish there
Right,
could be peace. Or they say, I don't think there'll ever be peace.
right.
It's too hard, but they got it. The Jains got it, didn't they?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, absolutely. I
they
agree on it.
knew somehow that that was the right way to live and that would bring them to something much
I
higher,
absolutely
better.
agree. Yeah, even the Buddhist, the Hindu communities,
Mm.
many of the communities, they had this belief that it starts with the transformation of the self, and so you have to be at peace, and then you're able to radiate that out to your family, to your community, to your nation. So that personal transformation, I think, is a really important part of. It doesn't come from the government telling you. It comes from the individual being able to be a moral voice for change in your society.
It's truly a way of life, and
Absolutely.
do you feel that people, when people hear this, they'll go, that could never happen, but there are those people. And actually, I do feel the Brahma Kumaris understand this. They talk
Absolutely.
about the Jains all the time.
Right.
The Jains, information about the Jains come up in our classes.
Right.
I don't know if you knew that.
I did. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
talk
I've
about
heard.
how the
Yeah.
Jains would never, they walked in a way so they wouldn't even hurt a bug,
Right.
right? And,
Yeah.
just this peaceful way of life. And sometimes people say, when you say things like this, well, that sounds great. That could happen, somewhere else, but
Right.
not in our world. So what do you
Right.
say
Right.
to them when they say
I
something like
mean, I think we're not all able to, there's a division in most Indic religions between the renunciants and the lay people.
that? Right.
And so, of course, we're not going to be able to live like renunciants.
Mhm.
We have families, we have lives that
Right.
we have to kind of live our lives. But I think what you can do is that you can start off with those aspects of nonviolence in your daily life and in the relationships that you have with family members, with your friends, with the people that you work with. I think those are the ways. So I think in the same way, for instance, when we think about the Dalai Lama, for instance, right? He is the incarnation of Avalokiteshvara, who is one of the great bodhisattvas.
Mm.
And so he chooses, right? The bodhisattvas choose to keep on being reborn into this world. And their idea is that we're going to keep coming until humanity learns the lessons of compassion and non-attachment, and then all people can be liberated. So the bodhisattvas themselves have the capacity to be liberated, to achieve nirvana, and to never come back to this world, but they keep on being reborn as teachers for us. And you can say, okay, well, that is never going to happen. All humans are never going to be liberated. I mean, this is a fool's errand, but they keep on coming back over and over again to teach us and to remind generation after generation. I think that's a very powerful thing. So our work is not achieving it in one lifetime, but it's we're constantly planting seeds that that yield fruit in generations much later after us. So, but I think the one individual has a lot of power um, when you live in community, when you're able to be present with people. I think that's something that in our modern lives, people are very dislocated. Yeah, they're very alienated from each other. And when you're able to be fully present with someone else, you can actually have a quite a profound impact on that person. And if you live your entire life that way, you could have an impact on quite a number of people in your life.
Well, it's kind of like you change yourself,
Right.
change the world, right?
Absolutely, for sure.
So how did the students at FIU that take some of these classes that you teach or and
Right.
are given there, how did they react? I mean, I would think that people that come to take such classes and to
Right.
understand this philosophy, you
Right.
know, whether it's in any religion, or I mean, Buddhism has it, like you
Right.
say, the Jains got it.
Right.
I like to feel that a lot of things
Yeah.
to do with the Brahma Kumaris do
Of
too. We
course. Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
in peace, that's
Right.
we say our religion is peace.
Right.
And I shouldn't say I like to, I do believe,
Yeah.
that,
Sure.
and there's many, and I think
Of course.
all religions have a part of it, don't they? I
Right.
mean,
Exactly.
have
That's right.
something, and
Yeah.
people have to kind of choose what works for them. You know what? I'm like kind of amazed that we're sitting here talking about this because I just had like a flashback to my
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
Many, many years ago when I started college in the Midwest. This was in Evanston, Illinois.
Right.
I signed up. One of my first classes was in the Department of Religions.
Okay.
And there was a man that was the head of it, and then a woman that was not under him, but also like an associate. And I was going to Sufi classes.
Oh, wow.
And he was Christian, I remember, but his love was and respect was for all religions.
Sure.
And we would sit at a table, and I didn't think I'm meditating. I didn't really wasn't even aware then of what
Right.
meditation was. But
Yeah.
just sitting here talking with you like this brought back a feeling of what I was always looking for because I took many other classes.
Right.
I started taking environmental classes. Those were
Hmm.
the beginning of the understanding what we were doing to the earth.
Right.
It all connects, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think
Spirituality, self, going into the self, and then wanting to help the earth, the world, the animals. Yeah.
absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I think it's one of the big I think the students are, I think we're living in an age also where traditional like people are kind of someone getting away from traditional religion, but there's still a deep desire and a yearning for spirituality. And I think that that's another thing that the Jain tradition is able to connect with students is that you don't have to have it's not like Christianity where there's a belief system that's necessary in order to be part of. You can absorb and take parts of Jain philosophy and you can live it in your life. And it doesn't force a conversion or kind of something that is kind of drastic. And so you're able to live in your own tradition. And then Jainism, I think, allows you to be able to perhaps this is what I say about interfaith dialogue. I think it helps you to become a better person within your own tradition because you're able to see reflections of truth in other traditions. And yeah, so that's a lot of my philosophy, I think.
Well, I think that's an amazing philosophy, really, because as long as if we, people just keep disliking others because
Right,
it's not the same religion, or they feel that you're
right,
not going to make it, in the world if you have this
right,
religion or that religion. So it's really important that we begin to understand other religions, right?
for
And
sure.
see the goodness
Yeah,
in all religions. And do you think there is a shift now? I mean, especially with the young people, because
right,
you're young people coming to take these classes, right?
right.
Um, ha, I mean, they're seeing a world that I didn't really know, in terms of
Yeah, I mean, I
young
think
and
that the
the violence
challenge,
and everything.
absolutely. I think the challenge is also is being able to connect to people um, in a deep sort of way. I think the virtual and the social media has also distorted that ability and connection. So, but at the same time, I mean, I think they're also exposed much uh, easier. They have much easier exposure to other religious traditions. So they're able to learn about other religious traditions. I mean, one of the things that I'm working on right now is peace building. It's a very difficult one. It's Jewish
He's,
Muslim dialogue and
wait,
trying
start
to
again. I didn't catch it.
so I'm working on Jewish Muslim dialogue.
Well, that's
And
important. That's
yeah, it's a
urgent,
very
isn't
important
it?
part of, especially with the conflict that's going on in the Middle East right
Yeah.
now. And so we're doing a lot of work on peace building. And how do how do we connect individually and through spirituality um, to other religious traditions, you know. So I think that's been a big and I think Jainism again helps us to be able to do that because it allows you to be able to use a different frame than even just Judaism or just Islam. Because both, Judaism and Islam both believe that there are types of violence that are acceptable, right? And
Mhm.
Jainism is quite absolute in that it doesn't really believe so you're able to take a little bit of a different frame to it and then thinking about, okay, well, if, what are ways that we can engage with the other, and what are ways that we can kind of take violence out of the equation. And again, it's not that it's going to happen, but you can also create a part of, I think, with regards to conflict resolution, is you actually have to. Sorry, that's my son in the background.
Oh,
Um,
I was
you,
just thinking about your son because I was
yeah,
thinking you as a father. How old is your son?
he is 17 months, so
Oh,
he's
beautiful,
really young. Yeah, it took
beautiful
us.
age, but for him to learn these things, I
Yeah, we do.
father
We
like
try.
this.
We take him everywhere.
Yeah.
It took us a long time to have him, and we had a lot of challenges, but we finally had him. And so, we take him to. We had a last year we did a interfaith Sukkot, and so we took him to the temple, and like I take him to many different sort of spiritual places so that he's able to learn, to the Jain temple, to other places as well. Yeah, which is really
Wait,
nice.
is there a Jain temple in Miami?
Yes,
I'm
there is. There
familiar
is.
with it.
Yeah, the Jain
Some
temple
of the
is
BKs might be the Brahma
yeah,
Kumaris.
it's in Broward. I think it's
Hmm.
like near Aventura.
Oh, right near me. I'm in Broward.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
near
okay, okay.
Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah. So the Jain Temple is there. Yeah. And we're actually having a Jain lecture. I don't know if you get the emails from the Green School, but our annual Jain lecture is going to be on the 9th of October if you want to come.
Oh,
And yeah,
like
we have.
if we're going to England
Oh,
actually.
okay.
No, Miami Center
Oh,
and
the Mommy Assembly
other
Center.
centers
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
to a meditation retreat of the
Oh,
Brahma
okay, okay.
Oxford, but I'm not sure of the exact date when it starts.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
I
I'll
should
keep you also updated
send
on the
it.
stuff
Yeah.
that we're doing, the interfaith work that we're doing. But yeah, so I think part of it also is just to have a thinking about, like, for instance, the Israel-Palestine conflict, right?
Hmm.
It's very difficult to see some sort of peaceful resolution for it. But what you have to do, I think, what the Jain and the Buddhists and some of the Hindu traditions are able to do is to allow us to envision um, future possibilities, future
Hmm.
utopias. What could it look like where you have one country and everyone had equal rights and they were able to live in peace with each other and be able to work towards common prosperity, right? So I think to resolve any conflict, you have to have at least, you have to be able to have some sort of utopian ideal and then get towards that, you know? And so I think that's another thing that interfaith dialogue allows us to be able to do.
This is really deep. And it makes total sense, you know. I mean, it really does. That if you keep saying over and over again, well, we're never going to have peace, what do you create? You're not going to have peace. You know, oh, we believe in peace, but it's not going to happen. But if you start to be it and live it, and you having a child, you understand this, you know. When I started meditating with the Brahma Kumaris, my daughter was not that young, but she was like 4. And I changed, you know, instead of getting irritated or angry. I'm not saying I never get irritated, but or angry, you know, but basically I learned peace, you know, that we're beings of peace, and to keep bringing that into your life. And I see that my daughter, who's grown with her kids, is quite different from the way I was at the beginning until I began to get this, you know. I don't see her, well, you know, of course, as a parent, your child is young now, you know, you're going to get irritated sometimes, but just the, you know, we say it's, Brahma Kumaris say it's a religion of peace. You know, that's what we practice. It's not a religion.
Absolutely.
If you were
Yeah.
to call it a, well, I don't know if you were to call it a religion, it's a religion of peace, which is exactly what you're saying, is that you have to envision it. What was the John Lennon song? People's, you know,
Right.
the only people say, I'm a dreamer. I'm not
I'm a
the only one
dreamer,
that
right?
join
Yeah.
me, you know, in peace and love. So it's like amazing to me, that this is happening at FIU, a program.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you,
Hmm.
how did they get so involved with this, the Green Family Foundation and these kinds of things? Because so much is going on with them. So do they practice something? And then I'll tell you about my involvement with the foundation and something I'm involved with in a minute after that. But
Yeah, no, I think that they have definitely an interest. There's another family that has donated as well, the Bell family, and they're
uh-huh.
building a chapel at FIU as well. And then
Mm.
I think just a lot of the faculty as well. So yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
Well, it's interesting that here you are. And yesterday I was actually at Green Space,
Okay.
one of the
Right.
programs that places that the Green Family Foundation has with a group of, I'm involved with something called the Peace Studio. And
Okay.
so we're not, I'd say a lot, but yeah, a lot of Brahma Kumaris.
Hmm.
And it's a nonprofit, national nonprofit. You
Okay.
need to know about this too for your own, you know, maybe
Yeah,
you have
that's
you
very
speak for
interesting.
them with them or
Okay.
something. And it's out of New York. And we just had a program in Miami called Artist as Catalyst. And I got to be
Okay.
a judge yesterday and
Okay.
go just right before, you know, meeting you now. And they chose about, I want to say 25, 30 people, young people
Okay.
who are very talented artistically in some way,
Hmm.
writing, art, anything to do with the arts, you know,
Right.
music. And they had to apply. And the whole idea is that they choose people that want to make a difference in the world, want, of course, to be able to make a living with their work, you know, but really basically try to create a better world. And so the ones that were chosen and the ones, they all had projects yesterday, and we got to judge who would get a little money that they're giving to do their project as groups. And so I'm sitting there with all these people, so talented, so with the consciousness of peace,
Right.
thinking I got to give credit to the Green Family Foundation because
Absolutely.
they're supporting this, and like they're, you know, supporting yours with other, you know, others too that are doing these kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
and
it's
there are very few
amazing.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there's so few places now, especially, I mean, I work again in this Jewish Muslim space, and most of the interfaith dialogue that has happened historically, much
Mhm.
of the stuff has broken down in many parts of the country. But it's really remarkable to see that in Miami it's continuing, and I think it's because of people like the Green Family and universities like FIU and MDC that really have a focus on especially I think you need interfaith dialogue, especially in the hardest times when things are the most difficult, where there doesn't appear to be any possibilities of change or hope. That interfaith dialogue, I think, can be the most meaningful, and it provides a lifeline for people because uh Jews and Muslims in the United States are suffering because
Mhm.
of what they see there, and they see their fellow co-religionists or family members that are there, and they're in tremendous amounts of pain. And I think being able to connect spiritually with each other allows them to have some sense of peace as well.
And you just said the magic words, with each other. If you feel like you're alone and you're
Right,
like the only person, like an island unto
right,
yourself, um, you're not going to feel, you don't have the strength, right? To be able
precisely.
to push
Yeah,
these messages forward. And I think you
right.
do need some kind of a community.
Oh, absolutely.
You must have
Absolutely.
it, in a lot of ways with your
Right,
teachings and with what you do and everything.
right.
How, how does this all spread? I mean, Brahma Kumaris have their ideas and they're working
Sure.
on bringing peace through meditation
Right,
and inner peace, and all religions come, to study, and they can
right.
have their religion. Um, but how do you feel that this can spread more rapidly? This
Um,
idea and this belief in, peace and compassion and treating
right.
people right and everything.
Well, I mean, as a teacher, I definitely think teaching is one part of it. And I think being able to educate teachers, especially the younger generations, I think that's one part of doing it. Just it has to be generational work for sure. The other thing I think is also just being able to, for people to actually engage in the faith, visiting and connecting with people of other, visiting those places of faith and spirituality. I think that's another thing as well, is that you can find healing, solace by visiting the faith centers of other religious communities as well. I think that's really powerful. So, there are all these spiritual centers here in Miami, which is remarkable, from
Ooh,
communities all across the world. And so you can
yeah.
connect with them as well,
I know they have Buddhist centers and
everything,
yeah.
mosques and churches and
So
tons
this
of synagogues. I mean, there's such beautiful sacred spaces here. And I think moving in those spaces, connecting with the people that are there, that's also how you are able to build community. So community is not just the people that believe like you or are you from your same background, but there are people who have the same connection, who desire a connection and are working towards that spiritual connection. I think that's important.
And as you say, they need to not feel like they're alone. It's hard
Right.
to be on a journey like this all by yourself and nobody, you
Absolutely.
know. Um, yeah, I remember years ago when I started getting into these things, and which was a long time ago. Um, and I remember, my parents were like, what? And they weren't religious. They're Jewish, but they weren't religious at all, really. I mean, but, they still felt they were Jewish. And all of a sudden I'm getting into something with this, Eastern philosophy, and going to India every year or almost every year, and studying, and actually made many trips to the Jain temple
Okay.
uh, in Mount Abu,
All
which
right.
is just beautiful. And
Yeah.
we go and we kind of meditate. Oh, not kind of, we do, when we're there,
Yeah.
just a
Right.
magnificent place. And I remember my mother said something like, you know, she never, she just didn't understand that I could get into all of this. Like, was I unhappy? Like, what happened to me, kind of thing. What, are you unhappy with your life? And I said, no, I just want to be, really peaceful and really happy and fulfilled. And I think eventually she did get it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So we have to spread the message, don't we?
Right, exactly. That's right. Yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
sometimes, again, by learning about other religious traditions, we're able to better understand our own tradition.
Mm. Well, you are definitely an amazing messenger. And, just the fact that you can reach a lot of young people with any of the courses that you give there, or your interfaith program. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. And that's really important. So I think when people have an opportunity, they should join a group, right? An interfaith group,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I guess they just have to check it out and find it. I don't know if there's any certain places that
Yeah,
you
there are a couple
would.
places that do interfaith through Google Interfaith, and there's a couple interfaith groups in Miami also in,
Oh, you
or
could
you
let
can
me.
even contact me as well, and I'm happy to put you in touch with so, depending on what way you're interested in terms of engaging across faiths. We have remarkable connections here in Miami, and people are just very open. So it's a beautiful place to be.
Well, it's so interesting to me because my question that I didn't ask you is, like, how did you end up here and how do you feel about being here? And at the beginning, before we met, I didn't know, if this was the right place for you, because is there enough going on for you, you know, with these ideas? And what you're telling me is what I've learned from you today is there's a lot going on, little by little, something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anywhere you go in, I mean, that's the thing. I think that this entire world is created by God, and so there
Hmm.
is beauty and spirituality everywhere you go. So you can be stuck in the Arctic Circle, and we're gonna find amazing people to connect with and sort of spirituality there. So the the geography of creation, and then the people. You can find truth in everything and everywhere. And part of the Jain and philosophy is also this idea of awakening, that we live with these illusions, and part of awakening is to pull back the curtains, and you're able to see reality, and then through that reality then you're able to even identify truth and sort of beauty and spirituality in the people that you engage with. So everyone has something to teach us. We might not always like it, but there's always something to learn from other people. Yeah.
And sometimes the difficult moments, we learn how we behave.
Oh,
Was I being
absolutely.
peaceful? Was I treating someone
Right.
nicely? Or it's self-transformation, right? Leads to
Right. No,
trans.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's unfortunately sometimes also just through those challenges, we can actually grow as people as well. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you're making me feel really, really good because I feel like listening to you, and you are, so educated with all of this as well, and obviously you're on the path, you're living this.
I try to,
Makes me
yeah.
feel that, reaching schools, reaching students, interfaith groups, going into silence, accepting peace is the way, can be the way,
Absolutely. For sure.
and that's what we all have to strive for. So
Yeah.
it's just a pleasure to get to meet you.
Absolutely. And thank
And
you for the work you do with the Brahma Kumaris. I mean, again, I think you guys are an institution here in Miami, and you do exceptional work, and we're very lucky to have you all doing the work that you do.
thank you so much for that. You'll have to
Yeah.
come visit one day.
Yes, yes, yeah. And maybe
Monday
I'll bring a
morning,
class with me as
meditation and
well.
breakfast, and to meet,
Okay.
yeah, some of our very special people that are there. And what I
Absolutely.
love about it is it's, like I said, I think earlier, it's the people say, well, what religion is that? And I go, it's the religion of peace. That's what,
Exactly.
you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is
Absolutely.
just a pleasure to get to meet
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you, Meredith. Yeah, and
And
we'd love to have you maybe next, well, when we do an event, we'll have you come out to FIU and have
please
lunch
let
with
me
some of our
know.
faculty. I would love to have you over.
That's great. Good to
Okay.
talk with you.
Thank you so much. All right.
Om
Take care.
Shanti. And you know what that means, right?
Yes. Yes.
To tell you, right? Yeah, Om Shanti. Thank you
Om
so
Shanti.
much.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yes.
you. Bye-bye.
And I want to thank everyone for joining us. And I want to thank Kathy Shea, for being our technical director, which she's not a technical director. She's been a professor at FIU, I'm sorry, and in education for many years. And she's so involved with the Brahma Kumaris, doing all kinds of projects and everything. And I want to thank I was told that our regular editor, who's in India right now, Meeta, she's all the way from India, will be editing this program, which is, it's, just if there's any little glitches or anything, it gets, and she puts it together, but not any major editing that, because everything looks good. Everything was good with our interview. So thanks so much again. And again, Om Shanti. Bye-bye.